what does gutsy mean to you?
Ooh, oh my gosh, I just got chills on that question. Gutsy means standing in your divine self and not being afraid to let it shine outwardly.
Welcome to the Gutsy Podcast, the show where you learn how to own what you actually want and shift the mind junk that's been holding you back. I'm Laura Ora, keynote speaker, coach, and your guide to help you get clarity, build confidence, and make the gutsy moves that change your life. Each week, I'm going to help you simplify things by teaching you how to get out of your head while stepping into action. This way you can achieve all those life shifts that you've been overthinking. Your desire, that drives you. But gutsy, that's what gets it done. When you're stuck in a pattern of challenge, negative self-belief, and familiar chaos, it can feel impossible to change the situation, let alone feel what a positive alternative might look and feel like. The happiness and expansiveness aren't rooted in lack. In fact, they're chosen, felt, and acted into existence. Today, we're talking with Dr. Simone, also known as the Self Esteem Doctor, about literally changing your mind so that you not only choose happiness, but live it. Dr. Simone is dedicated to helping people improve their thinking, love themselves, and recognize their true potential through NLP, positive psychology, and spirituality. As a mentor, coach, practitioner, and motivational speaker, she finds joy in speaking, teaching, and providing one-on-one NLP coaching sessions. Specializing in self-esteem, psychology, and personal wellness, she assists individuals in overcoming various challenges using proven self-help tools. During this interview, you're going to hear me tell Dr. Simone a story about an aha moment, some clarity that I got the morning of recording her episode. And it has to do with the story about when I first started my speaking career way before I thought of myself as a speaker. I go more in depth on this story during this episode, but I want to put it out there, right? I'm really claiming this space as a speaker and a coach. And so I ask you if you or someone in your network is looking for a dynamic speaker that keeps it real, that helps people get out of their own way, to stop settling, to be able to move forward and know how to. I would just be over the moon if you would be willing to share my name and information with that person, or if you are looking for someone, if you would consider me as your speaker. In the show notes, I'm going to link my one-pager, which has my topic of discussion, some stats, and it also leads to my media kit if you want some more information. All right, my friends, this episode is probably one of my favorites to date. I mean, I've interviewed hundreds of people at this point, and the second Zoom turned on, it was just magic in the making. So enjoy, buckle up, you're in for a real treat. Let's get into today's episode. My new greatest friend in the whole planet, Dr. Simone.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Gutsy Podcast.
Let's get gutsy. Yes. Oh my gosh, so good.
Listen, I just need everybody to know, like, I know you can't see us right now, but we're both wiping tears. We just had the most beautiful connection, like from the second the Zoom room opened. And, every time before I start an interview, I like to just get into the space, right? And I invite the guests to do the same. And we just had this, like, I've not had chills like that in quite some time. And it's just, it was so deep and pure and expansive that it just has brought tears to both of us. I can't thank you enough for being here.
Oh my gosh, I feel the same. I feel the same. And I want to share this with you all, to invite you to open your heart to this, because what we are feeling right now is it's visceral. And it's, I think, a really good indicator of how far we can take this conversation to empower each other and step into a really great place of wholeness. I'm so happy to be here, Laura. Like,
Oh,
wow.
absolutely. And this is kind of jumping to the end, so I'm gonna jump there and then come back to the beginning.
Let's
But
do it.
I want everyone to know that, like, feeling this deeply is the result of getting in touch with yourself, of getting out of your head, of embracing joy and
Mm.
releasing old stuff. And, like, when all of that heaviness is not with you, and I'm not saying that you can't experience this level of enlightenment when you are going through it as well. It's absolutely
Sure.
possible, but I just think that it, this is the purity when you get out of your own way, right?
Yes, yes, yes. And to allow, there's this art of allowing, as I've heard it said before. And it does take some practice some willingness, some desire, some opening. And I hope that we really can get into some of those like tools and methodologies and ways that help you to get out of your way and help you to not be blocked in those old, habits and programming, as the language I like to use, states. And so we can just like live in this as often and connect with each other as often as possible, because this trend, it starts with the self and we unlock it with the self. As you said, we're kind of at the end of the conversation there, but hey, what a better place to start, right? I mean, and it starts there, but it doesn't end there. It starts with each of us finding that with each other, but then we come together and we share it and we explore it the way that we've already done before we even exchanged words. And wow, I mean, wow, I hope everyone listening is just able to sit into a place of feeling with this one as they tune in, because wow,
Couldn't agree
wow.
more.
Yeah.
So
Still wiping tears, by the way.
yeah, it's kind of undescribable. I said, it takes a lot for me to not have words because I always have words. And this experience it got me quiet and still for a second. And I think that's a beautiful thing too. So listen, I know that behind every great story is a great story. And I'd love to know, talk to me about your journey. What has led you to where you are and what you're doing and teaching now today?
Oh, such a beautiful question. It's been a journey that I think can inspire people in just how eclectic it is, because I think we like things to be a nice straight line, and mine was not a straight line, and it took some kind of soul searching and listening and tuning in. So I'll give you the short version, since we're not going to be here for like 8 hours like I would like. So what ultimately I started off teaching. I knew that I'm a teacher to the very core of my being. Like I incarnated on this planet to disseminate information. Okay. Earlier on, I did not know what that looked like. I started teaching in elementary school, really traditional approach. And I had several instances where, kids are terrified to take tests and they're doubting themselves. The parents are kind of supporting the doubt, like, well, of course they're going to be scared. I'm like, okay, I get that. So I started working on confidence with their mindset, your test taking, how do you just kind of start to believe in yourself? How do you change that emotion? And I was like, man, someone's got to work on self-esteem with these kids, like this mindset thing, this attitude, this energy, this action. And then I had kids come up to me, and I remember one particular 8-year-old was like, you know what? I have a question. Am I fat? And I'm like, you're 8. Like I
Wow.
stumbled between anger, frustration, sadness. I just had all these emotions. It's like, why are you asking me if you're fat? Like so then I was like, someone's got to talk to these kids about self-esteem. Then I had like a second life going on at the same time where I was modeling. And in the modeling industry, I had the gift, quote unquote, of just being completely naive. And I was just like, hey, you think I look good in this outfit and you want to pay me a couple $100 to walk a straight line? Let's do it. Like that was the beginning, middle, and end of my like the drama of modeling. To me was like, you're gonna pay me to do this. Like I like that. But as I got deeper into the industry, I heard people backstage like ripping themselves apart. I'm so fat, I'm so ugly, I can't believe this. And like, and I'm just like, my gosh, like walk a straight line and make money, girl. What are you complaining about? Right? Someone's got to talk about self-esteem. And it's like this theme started to emerge. And I think the thing that kind of put me over the top was one of these fashion shows. It's like the world's merged. So I'm doing a fashion show, and there are these girls that look about anywhere between 8 to 12 years old gathered around. I'm hearing the girls trash talk themselves backstage as we're getting ready to go on the runway. I'm already nervous a little bit and getting into my like, just walk out there, just walk out. You got this, make money, girl. Right. So I'm hyping myself up. I'm hearing them kind of complaining in the back and tearing themselves apart. And then the show is over, get off stage, and these little girls, 8 to 12 or so years old, they're like, I want to be like them. And something shattered inside of me, and or grew or expanded. I guess it depends on how we want to give the verbiage to that. But I was like, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. You are not going to make a role model out of someone who literally has no sense of self in a deeper capacity to like just appreciate who they are. And I wasn't perfect at it by any means, and still am not. I'm going to continue to grow in this space. But I had an awareness, I think was kind of like divinely placed in me. And I was like, no, 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 no. Someone's got to do this. And from there, the birth of the Self Esteem Doctor began. And it was a long journey of twists and turns and more education and learning and experience. But that is the fundamental place of where it came from, was understanding that, okay, no matter if you're an 8-year-old kid in school or supposed to be this beautiful model walking down the runway, self-esteem is an issue here. And it goes beyond just body and image and looks, and talking about academics and performance. And it's something that felt really clicked in my heart. And I was like, here we go. It's time for the self-esteem doctor to be born. Let's invent her. And let's make her manifest on this planet, and let's see what she can do to help what's going on here.
Wow, I love it. I mean, I can feel that moment, right?
Oh,
When you're literally standing in between two worlds, when one set of girls are just feel completely less than of themselves, and
yes,
a group of girls is idolizing them. And
yes,
it's but they you don't know what you don't know. And so
yes.
then it becomes this vicious cycle. And I love how you're like, actually, we're not gonna do that anymore.
What's going to happen is we're going to interrupt this pattern and we're going to try to bring something new to the world. And I think with the experience of doing the education piece, I started to teach my students, like we would sing songs about confidence. We'd sing songs about like, I got this. And we would do like cheers in the class and we'd have like kind of like rap battles to like about like, yo, I got this and I studied and I came to school. So I know math stuff. And I'm like, and the parents started asking me like, I don't think my kid's taking this seriously. Like this exam's coming. I'm like, why don't you think they're taking it seriously? Like, because they're happy and they're excited. Like,
Wow.
what? Get in my class, please. Like, I need to teach you also. But it's such a standard that you're supposed to be terrified about everything. And like, confidence is not really that standard yet. It's nerves and fear kind of run the world. And then there's the chosen few who like stumble upon confidence and self esteem. And I didn't want it to be like that. I feel like we all have that right and that access. But like you said, we don't know what we don't know. So I thought it was my obligation, or felt actually called, to share what I knew and learn more and keep sharing it as I learn and pull as I climb, you know.
Wow. You know, you said something I don't think I've ever heard before, which is like, the it's supposed to be hard and scary, and just this realization like, oh, we have a test coming up, or oh, I'm, about to apply for something, or whatever shift is coming, like our immediate go-to is fear and
Yep.
lack,
Yep.
right? I can't do that. Other people are further ahead. The girl sitting next to me in class is prettier. The boy diagonally from me has, he's already 3 steps ahead of me, right? And so do you find that this confidence, self-esteem issue is more of an external or an internal or a combination?
Oh, I think it's a combination. I think at the end of the day, it is a program that we run, right? So, one of my chief trainings that I bring into the world of work that I do is neurolinguistic programming. And neurolinguistic programming basically means using the language of the mind to impact your actions, your behaviors, your outcomes, right? So, speaking that language of the mind. So, what I've learned is that that programming happens both internally with the way you're talking to yourself and externally with what you're observing and what you're paying attention to. So if people around you are offering something and then your language is offering something, you're going to really solidify that program. So that person looks smarter than me. I now run the dialogue. You're smarter than me. And so now I have a new belief and a new program that's forming, and that's going to start to contribute to, well, how I see and view myself. And there are other ways. It's just that we don't talk about those ways. We're like, well, he did better. I did worse. That's a quote unquote fact. That's what's quote unquote real. And so that's what is. However, I can still program that, yeah, he got a better grade than me, and I can still perform in what I'm supposed to perform in excellently. It doesn't have to be connected, but we haven't done the training and the programming in that. So I think that is, in fact, an external and internal situation, but the internal is dominant. The internal takes precedence. And that's where the training, the taking action, as you talk about a lot, even the thoughts, even that mindset, that's where all of that takes place. It's internal, really is the stronger voice. We just don't use it as a stronger voice.
That's very true, because listen, the conversation that you have silently with yourself is the loudest voice that you'll ever hear.
100%. A
And
hundred.
it is the one that you will believe until
Yeah.
something shifts. And I'm glad you brought up NLP, because I wanted to talk a little bit more about, like, let's educate, like, what is that? How is it used? Like, how do you use this as a tool to help people to gain self-esteem and confidence?
Oh, 100%. Okay. So when people think about, oh, I'm thinking this or I'm thinking that, I feel like we just have this picture that there's this words that kind of popping around in our head. But what's actually happening, there are pictures being formed in our heads. And even more kind of, I guess more technically, we're firing and wiring these different neurological connections in the brain, right? And of course, I'm a lover of Dr. Joe Dispenza. So as who talks about
Same.
quantum physics, right? Like obsessed. So when I talk about NLP, he's gonna sneak in there a little bit and I'll be like, okay, so that was Joe, but this is NLP, but like it all works together. So that's my little caveat there. But so NLP teaches us that there are ways that we are formulating these pictures in our mind. Sometimes we're aware of them, so we call that conscious, and sometimes we're not aware, so we call that either unconscious or subconscious. And so at the end of the day, though, there are pictures that we are forming. And those pictures, depending on how we represent the pictures, where we're seeing those pictures in our mind, how dominant they are, how bright, how, there's something we call submodalities, how we describe the picture. Is it really huge in my mind? Is it close up? Am I in the picture? Like when I imagine something, how is my brain representing it? That actually leads to how we feel about that picture, because how that picture is represented kind of now filters through all that neurological stuff and sends chemical signatures. And now we're feeling the equal to that thought, right? We're feeling that. And then how we're feeling and thinking then ultimately can lead us to certain actions that we do or do not take. So if I have this thought in my mind, okay, I'm not good enough, let's take it back to the runway, right? I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm ugly. I'm bad. I'm not smart enough, whatever. Those pictures in our mind are represented some way. Now I might represent it as that boy, diagonal from me who has an A+ on his paper, and I'm seeing my paper with a big F- on it. And that picture might be stuck in my head. So NLP says that I can actually reimagine that picture, reframe that picture. I can delete that picture, erase that picture, replace that picture by sitting down and using, essentially, to put in layman's terms, using my imagination. Right. Or as psychology will call it, mental imagery. So I'm going to just kind of recap it so it really makes sense to you guys a little bit more cohesively. I have pictures in my brain when I think, and depending on what those pictures are, I will feel and act a certain way. I have the power to change those pictures. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's not
Absolutely.
just like sit and think, think, okay, I can do it. 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 And like you said, you're sitting on the couch saying, I can do it 600 times and you ain't doing nothing, right?
Nothing's changing. You're like, I'm thinking about it, but I'm looking around and my circumstances are the same.
All the same, right? So I think there's a fundamental piece we keep missing, and I think those pictures are a big part of the secret. Because once I start to see in a way that involves pictures, and then you incorporate Dr. Joe's talk about elevating your emotions, now you got the picture and the emotion. And I want to be clear, this is not just an activity you do and then you feel better and then you'll take action. We're talking about actual biochemical changes happening. Like things change inside of you when you sit and you have this picture. You're now utilizing the real assets that you have and the power of the mind. You're seeing a picture of success, for example. You are now feeling that feeling. Again, just imagine how good would that feel. People call it a goal, people call it a desire, but you're just attaching an emotion to it. And then your brain goes, oh, Simone saw a picture and she felt that feeling. That must be real. Write it down. So your brain records it. It's like, oh, she did that. I see myself walking down the runway. I'm killing it. I feel excited. I feel fancy. I feel like Tyra Banks. Hopefully you guys are old enough to know who Tyra Banks is. Okay. Moving on. And I'm feeling so good. My brain records it. Oh, Simone walks like Tyra Banks. And so it's creating this almost like illusion of a memory. But what's happening is that my brain then says, if you thought and felt that before, you can think and feel that again. And my brain doesn't say, oh, that was fake. My brain says, oh, that's potential. Ooh, that's potential. Oh, you could do that again. And you can do it for real. You can do it in your mind. I don't care. I just know you could do that again, right? That's how the brain works. So that's the power. And like you said, like not just sitting there like randomly thinking idle things and thinking like, oh, poof, look, it's gonna just change around me. There's an art to it, and action, emotional action is a big part of it as well.
Yes. And listen, I'm a Dr. Joe fan as well. As soon as I hear his voice, I'm like,
Yes,
whatever you're about to say, I'm listening.
listen.
Because it's just so he breaks it down in a way that it's like, oh, it's actually not that hard. But we make it hard because we don't have the tools and the training, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's where people like you, people like me, people like Joe, like we have the ability to make change
Mm,
like within ourselves regardless of the circumstance or situation. And that thing that you were just talking about that he shares as well is like that feeling it before it's here.
mm.
It makes it familiar
Yes.
with your body, right?
Yeah.
And I think that that's sometimes where the fear and the hesitation comes from, is because it's not wrong, it's just new.
Yes. And you've never seen it or felt it before. So
Yeah.
question, right.
So it's unfamiliar to your body. Your mind's like, I don't know about this, like, right? Like that beginning nerves of doing anything, right?
Yes.
It's unfamiliar. But when
Yeah,
you
no.
start to visualize the possibility, it becomes a familiar feeling in your body. So when it starts happening, it's like, oh yeah, this is what we're supposed to do.
Yes. This is familiar. This
Yeah.
is not familiar. Oh, such a good word to use for that. Oh, so good, Laura. It's so
Yeah.
good.
And one of those other things too is like we have a tendency to find what we're thinking about. right? So
Mhm.
if we're always thinking about the negative, we're looking at how bad things are, we're looking at the toughness, we're looking at a challenging situation. It doesn't mean that any of those things are not challenging, right?
100%.
But if we keep thinking about it like that, we find more of it,
A
right?
hundred percent.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
I thought you'd never ask, honey. Yes. Yes. No, okay. So there is this way that you can understand it when we go into fight or flight, right? I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard of, but fight or flight is basically when we're in this energy of like, I need to survive, right? We are pumping adrenaline, we are in stress mode, we're pumping cortisol. Again, the hormones match that emotion that we're feeling, and we're feeling stressed. And what happens is kind of that primitive part of us comes out, and we narrow our focus on what that thing is that's causing us stress. Like, for example, I don't know, it's like a million years ago, you're out there with the mountain lions or something, and you're like, oh my gosh, mountain lion. Your brain has to focus in on mountain lion so that you can figure out how to be safe. Where do you run? Where do you go? Which way is the lion coming? Which way should you go, right? You have to narrow your focus. You are not thinking about, oh, what will we eat later tonight? You're thinking you might get eaten, right? You're not thinking, oh, I'm so in love and I can't wait to expand my horizons. You're completely narrowly hyper focused on this danger. And we do the same thing today, except it may not be mountain lions and predators, but well, stress is a predator if you ask me, but that's another conversation. Okay. Right? But we are narrowing our focus on those negative things. And so the body and the mind have no choice but to zoom in and look for more of it, see it, highlight it, be very clear on it. So you're going to, like you say, become a more of an observer of the negative because you're tuned in and like actually primitively tuned in to the negative because it's something you're trying to quote unquote protect yourself from. But in doing so, you actually tie yourself to it more. You kind of get married to it because now it's all you can see. So there's a benefit in saying, yes, that thing is real, but I can expand my focus beyond that thing. And then you start to see solutions, and you start to see clarity, you start to see things to be grateful for, you start to see other options. And I think to
Mm.
me, when I think of NLP in one word, I think it gives more options. And that way you have different choices of behavioral outcomes because you have more options. I don't have to just sit in fear because it's something new. I also have the option to shift the picture, elevate my positive emotions, create something new, write in my journal. Like I have other options of what I can do. And I think that's where the power comes from.
I love that. So, and the same is true for the shift that you're making or what you're moving into or the goal or the mindset change, right? Like the more you start to embody and feel that, think about that, notice those senses. Now
Yeah.
that focus gets redirected, right? And
Ooh,
so now you start looking for opportunity. Now you start
yes.
seeing the positives. Now you start seeing like clarity. I don't know about you, but when you get in that space, you just get so much clarity. Like, oh, now I know what to do, right?
Yes, yes, because you're in that space now. Like oh my gosh, I'm so happy you said that. And you switch that, and that new narrowed focus is now on possibility or narrowed, quote unquote, narrowed or redirected, as is a better word to use here, is redirected to the positive. And then you can not only are you receiving more options, you're open to recognizing the options because I think sometimes those options are coming, but we're in a space where we're in lack and fear and anger and disappointment and negativity that something falls in our lap and we don't even recognize that it's an opportunity or that we could take it and turn it into an opportunity because we're not in that space. You're not in that mindset. So redirecting and saying, you know what? This is a space where I feel clear, I feel better, I know there's possibility, I know there's options. So then some phone call comes in and you're like, huh, maybe I should mention it to this person. And for some reason you mentioned the thing. And then it turns into an opportunity and the clear downloads you get, I promise you, like I'm just like, it's a spiritual experience.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, 100%.
sometimes, and this just literally happened this morning. I was prepping for our time together and just getting ready and stuff, and very clearly, I call it hear feel because I don't see it visually, but I audibly hear it, but not out loud, but I feel it in my
Ooh.
body. So,
Yes.
so
Yeah. No, for some reason I understood all of that.
yes, I call it hear feel. So you can use that term as well. I hear felt post on LinkedIn about the first time that you spoke on a stage and nobody showed up. And I was like, I'm on a time, like I got stuff to do, right? It's almost 10. Like I need to, and it got so strong. It was like, talk about the story about how you were first contracted to speak and nobody showed up. And I was like,
Mhm.
okay. Thank you. They're
I,
very look, my spirit team is very adamant. Like
oh,
when they know, they know. And I think it's just having that space, it's the capacity to receive that kind of
mhm.
information, right? So I'll follow up with everybody and let you know what comes of that, if anything, right? Like, but I just know that I was supposed to. So I stopped what I was doing. I'm like half dressed, right? Like my hair's in a weird, messy bun, and I'm on LinkedIn. I'm like, okay, I'm a
That's
professional on
totally fine.
LinkedIn, like half dressed, but just the capacity to receive that type of information, right?
Oh yeah,
And
100.
then allow it. We talked earlier about allowing yourself to lean into that and to take the steps into it.
I absolutely adore that. And I can tell you one positive thing that's already come from you sharing that is very much the way my career started also. The speaking part of my career. I have enough footage of me talking to a chalkboard while my husband is the sole
Yeah.
audience member. And I'm like, just don't get the chairs in, don't get the
Yeah.
tables, just do me on the board. And so now you can probably see why when I do have a talk and there are real people in the room, I'm like, get the people, get
Get
the
the people.
back up, let them know. Like I'm not alone this time. But it really, I think that also just feeds into this talk. It feeds into our heart. It feeds into that confidence. It feeds into this almost this inner knowing that there is a guidance there. And when we tune into it, again, having the self-esteem to tune into that, the wisdom, the willingness, the openness, the allowing to say, maybe I can't see the end of the road right now. Maybe I can't see the purpose of this right now. Maybe I don't even feel like I have the time for this right now. But if I have a picture in my mind of success and I've generated this emotion of success and my body is familiar and ready and eager and poised to walk into this place, and then I get a moment of inspiration while I'm in that space, oh, it behooves me.
Ooh. Oh
Oh, it
yeah.
behooves me take action because I'm literally in the realm of possibility, and each one of those actions can become something so much more. And what's
Ugh.
funny is that when we're angry and sad and frustrated and negative, and we get like that kind of negative inspired action, like, send her that email and tell her off. We certainly don't hesitate. Like, we're like, I got a feeling. Like, okay, hold on. I like how you get the negative feeling in the negative space and you send that email like quick o'clock. I need you to do the same, bring that same energy when things are positive, when you are open, when you are receiving, bring that same energy and move with the same haste and intentionality to take that weird action that you're not sure why you're taking. Take it in faith, take it in that spiritual space or whatever your particular beliefs are. Take it in confidence that there is something you've aligned yourself to, and this is part of the unfolding.
That is hilarious, right? That is
Why do we
so
do
true. It's like,
that?
hold on, I got something to say and I need you to hear it. You're thumb texting like, blah, blah, I got things to say, and then you read it and then you delete it, right? Hopefully.
Hopefully
You
before
walk
you send
away.
it.
Why do you think that we're so quick to jump with that, but not yet so quick to jump the other direction? Today, we're talking a lot about the different ways to be able to shift your mind. And listen, one of the top questions that I get is how, Laura? Okay, I get it. I hear it. I'm reading the books. I'm doing the stuff. I'm getting the support, but things don't seem to be changing. How? And the how happens to be one of the areas that I love to dig in and share the information the most with you. So if you go to lauraora.com/foundations, I will send you 5 free audios that will teach you the foundational method that I created and use and teach to everybody in my world on how to get out of your own way, to how to stop your thoughts in the moment so that you can start to move towards the thing that you actually want. Again, it's at lauraora.com/foundations. As soon as you sign up, the first episode is going to be in your inbox.
Honestly, I'm bringing it back to the previous question you asked me about, is the programming, kind of external or internal? And I think there's so much external programming. And I think we could speculate all over the place of where it comes from. But at the end of the day, I think the external programming about anticipating negativity, about negativity being the natural state of things, about, I often do on my talks, I'll say, why is it that when the minute someone says, I'm just keeping it real, it automatically is attached with, I'm keeping it negative? Because I'm like, you can keep it
Oh,
real and tell me how you woke up this morning, you had breakfast, your family's alive. Like, you can keep it real and tell me, you had clothes on your back, you have a job to go to. You can keep it real and tell me I had toothpaste to brush your teeth, you can see today. But no, keep it real is always automatically attached with, and this is why I'm going to curse you out now, because I'm keeping it real, right? But then here I come with like sunshine and roses, and I'm like, I want to keep it real. And I think you're beautiful. And today's such a beautiful day and the sun is shining and I'm put my feet in the grass. And it's like, that's not real. Like that's fake. Like you're a
Mhm.
Pollyanna or whatever we have name calling for when people are positive, and we have keep it real accolades when you keep it negative. And I think that's part of the training, right? Something good happens, wait for the other shoe to drop. Like don't get too excited because bad things happen. But when bad things happen, we get really too angry. Like we get too into it. But when happy things happen, don't get too happy. Like we keep encouraging the swing with 100% into the negative emotions. Give partially to the positive because you don't want to be ridiculous, but go 100% into the negative. And I think it just keeps on just repeating itself in different categories and different areas. And so, hey, you're mad and you want to send a text, be real, speak the truth, curse around in that text. Like what? It's like, what? Okay, but you're really happy? Yeah. You want to send sunshine? Yeah. Okay, send that happy message and tell people to have a great day. No, that's weird. Like what? It's that programming. I really think it's just, and it takes a lot of deprogramming, and for us to be intentional about saying, you know what, I want to kind of do the opposite, and it's going to be weird to some people until you find your tribe to whom you can send these messages, and they're like, oh, there she goes again. There's Laura being Laura. There's Simone. If there's going to be a rainbow or something at the end of this sentence and a heart, there's going to be an emoji in this email. Like
There guaranteed is a star emoji and the white heart. Like that's my signature sign off.
mine is the tulip. It's a tulip is coming
See?
every time. Like
A realization that I'm having as we're talking about this, I think sometimes the hesitation is also in how it's going to be received,
oh, for
right?
sure. Oh, for sure.
Like because you don't want to be the the too happy person, or sometimes people really perceive it as being fake, or running away from your problems, or we could swing the pendulum really far and go into toxic positivity, which is a
Sure.
whole different topic, right? So how do you practice releasing even how it's going to be received and just continue to show up in that space as you are?
Oh, so interesting. Such a good question. I really think it's been practice, to be honest, because I can probably give you like boatloads of examples where I had a really great thought that I wanted to share and I just sat on it like,
Yeah.
no, Simone, that's not the space for that. We're not gonna understand, right? And constantly just like, but I got to the place where I would use the terms what I would just describe to myself. I'm like, did you just censor your positive emotion? Did you censor yourself from positive? Why? Like, because someone's going to think you're too happy. But if I wanted to like curse somebody out or talk about like religion or politics or whatever people like to fight about, I'm supposed to be able to be uncensored and express myself again, constantly in support of things that stir the pot in a negative way, but then holding back when you're going to possibly stir the pot in a positive way. And it took me a while and practice and kind of rehearsing in my mind, I'm going to say it. And one of two things are going to happen. You're either going to outwardly reject it, but inwardly it's going to hit because love hits. I'm sorry, like love hits somewhere. And so you could be like, that's weird, but you're going to think about it later, or in some
Yep.
way it's going to do something to you later. Even if you never ever acknowledge that I had anything to do with it, I don't care. I'm going to lead with that space of love because that is where the true power is. And it just is not as overt and as like violent and attacky as other things might be, but like it's going to land in there. So I'm either going to plant a seed that you may outwardly reject, or you are going to feel outwardly warmed and receive it and have your day change. And that is my duty to do that because that's how I came in. And I'm like, I can't censor myself in hopes that I don't jeopardize your angry day that you would like to have. I can't do that. So it took me a lot of time. And also it was really, speaking of external influences, there are definitely some women I've surrounded myself with recently we actually started a mastermind group together here in my city in Parkland, Florida. And I said, hanging out with them, they just show up every single time. I mean, jolly, jovial. Like, I mean, and when you talk, we have real conversations. So we'll sit and be like, so, XYZ business. Yeah, no, not good. We need to fix something. So we're still having real, like, that stinks. That was bad. Don't like that. But like life is good. So let's talk about the bad. Let's hop into how to fix it and let's get back to happy. So we're not pretending, we're not like, oh, no, everything is fine. I lost 27 clients in life. No, we're not doing that. So I feel like we're literally being real. Like, listen, let me tell you how today sucks, okay? Because like people just did this and that's awful. Why are people like this? I don't know. That's crazy. But anyway, you look fabulous. And what's going on with this part of your business? Oh, it's thriving. How can I help you? How can you help me? So I found myself and created and inserted myself and aligned myself to a group of people, my tribe, as people, I guess, like to call it, and starting to say that I don't have to insert myself in places where this is not wanted and then, browbeat it into people. I literally can just align to the people for whom this is the stage that we're on,
Yeah.
and share that. I kind of have a visual, because again, everything's visual with NLP. I have a visual that almost like life is a building and we're all just on different floors, right? There's the basement, people are just kind of in a really low space, but we all have access to get all the way to the penthouse and float above it or whatever however far you want to take the visual. And when I recognize, okay, wow, I'm like at the penthouse and with like a little levitating above, like, oh, there's my helicopter, I'm going to be above, and that's where I like to live most of the time. Do I come down a couple stairs sometimes? Absolutely, because I am very much human. And do I meet people who are like on the second and third floor sometimes and they're just down there? Yeah. But that doesn't mean I need to judge them for being there. That's just, I was there. I had to be there to get to the penthouse at some point, right? So I had to have passed through there. So it gives me this way of respecting that that's just where you are and I don't live there. So I don't have to move back down to the third floor to hang out and like deal with you because I just don't live there. I'll wait on the penthouse. When you come up, then we can be besties. But the judgment gets eradicated from there. Me feeling like I'm obligated, it's gone from there. And then understanding that on the penthouse, I can literally speak penthouse language. I can literally fly around with the rainbows, with the white hearts and the stars, and I can do all that. So that has been, I think, part of the journey for me is finding the people that are on that level, but not judging anyone who's not, because we all run the gamut of the whole building at some point through life, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Everybody starts in the basement, right?
Yeah.
Right. Like whether you look at that as building something, trying something new, breaking out of something, maybe it's just a pivotal moment or a challenging time in your life, right? That like everyone has their own story. But the difference of moving your way up the building or staying down there is shifting what's happening inside your head and
Absolutely.
choosing, like in that conversation you're talking about in that mastermind, what everyone's doing. It's not this fake facade, right? I think that sometimes, I just it makes me want to put my head through a wall sometimes where it's like, well, if you're happy, you're fake. And I'm like, okay, listen, is that possible for somebody? Yes.
Absolutely.
Don't bring that shit up in my house. Because,
However, comma.
first of all, I worked very hard to be happy.
Oh,
So,
oh. Can we pause on that? I need to pause on that. Just give me 1 second. Oh my gosh.
yes, I worked
Chill.
very hard
Oh.
to be happy. So, I will not allow you to take that away from me. Okay. That's first and
Oh.
foremost. Second of all, you can be going through something challenging and have an optimistic problem solving focus and mindset. And to me, when you talk about that mastermind that you're with, you're keeping it real. You're talking about challenges. Like everything's not kittens and puppy dogs and we're not farting out rainbows all the time, right? Like, are there days? Sure. Last Tuesday? Absolutely. But it's not always like that. And I think that sometimes it's this misunderstanding that like you're either always like that or you suck. And it's just not the case. So it's keeping it real, but the focus shifts always back to possibility and problem solving instead of wallowing.
Oh my gosh. Yes. And I want to add on to that very perfectly said statement, as well as working on our happiness. We've chosen it every single day and almost every single moment we re-choose it. And I think
Yes.
that work goes overlooked and is assumed that, well, since I'm not happy, you can't possibly be happy. And I read the book you read and I'm not happy. And I did the whole manifesting positive thinking thing and didn't work. So obviously you're lying. And it's like, wait a second, whoa. You read the book Monday and then you thought your life was going to change for the rest of your life. I read the book Monday, then I highlighted it Tuesday, and then I reviewed it on Wednesday, then I wrote index cards on Thursday, and then I reviewed the index cards on Friday. Like I am studying and choosing in every moment. I have a choice. I walk up to the same roads you walk up to every single day. I can watch the news and be miserable and hate everyone and everything. I can look at my family and feel joy and gratitude. We both walk up to those choices every day. I happen to keep making the choice that makes me feel better. And that takes work. And if you haven't done that work, there's no judgment here for you, but there is encouragement for you that you can do that work. But don't dare try to take away every single moment of every day that I come to the same two choices and I make a good one or a better one for me. Don't judge me for that. I mean, you can if you want to. I don't really care at this stage of my life, but
Yes.
I prefer that you keep it to yourself. But like, don't make it a massively, hugely impossible, unattainable conversation or prospect because you haven't attained it. Please understand that every day we choose this. We don't pretend it. We don't fake it. Some people may, and that's up to them to deal with their ghosts because they're going to feel miserable inside and it'll show in their life and what they're manifesting. But this is a choice every single day. And yeah, there's going to be days I don't choose it. And you may not hear from me that day because I'm going to be meditating and trying to get back to choosing it because I'm going to do the work.
Yeah, absolutely. You feel what you need to feel, right? Like
Absolutely. Yep.
I know you do. I know I do. I've got turd days, right?
Yeah.
when I'm just
Not just
feeling
Thursdays, turn days.
just turd days. Yeah, where I'm my head does get ahead of me.
Yeah.
Or some old programming likes to come back up and be like, "Hey, remember me? I know that you worked to like move me out of here, but I still live in the corner." Like it is super possible. And the question I want to ask you, and I hear this more often than not, is how?
Mm.
How do we change? How? Because when you're in those moments, when you are at that fork of the road to make the decision, when you are at the do I continue to focus on the challenge, or do I get into a growth mindset, right? Like what are some, I know you wrote a book, you've got 33 techniques. So I feel like you probably have a handful of things. What are some things that listeners can do to start to make those shifts, the work that we call it?
I love this so much. I think it's the most important part is not to do the cheerleading, but to also say, well, here's the how.
Yep.
And the first sentence that came to me when you asked this question was this phrase I always say, and it might be confusing, so I'm gonna say it slow. You have to want what you want more than you don't want what you don't want.
Mm.
And what that means is you have to become more fascinated, more in love, more enamored, greater desire for the things you say you do want. That has to start to dominate your interest, your attention, more than what you don't want. So the problem is, let's say that I don't have enough money, or I feel like I have a lack of money. Every time the topic of money, Abraham Hicks says every topic is two topics. So the topic of money comes up, and then there's the lack of money or the having of money. Many times we go to the lack of money. We're thinking about what we don't want. We are fascinated with what we don't want and what we don't have. And so we're like, I wish I had money and I don't have money. I can't have money. I need to manifest money and I can't wait to have money and money, money, money. But the way our attention is going to money is on the lack side, the negative side. So therefore, our entire like body is filled with the not having of money. Therefore, the program of not having of money just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. Although you're saying, I'm trying to manifest. So that brings us back to earlier conversations. You have to want what you want with more intentionality, more passion, more desire, more hope, more imagination, more possibility, more potential, more dreams, more mental imagery. You have to formulate the image in your mind of you having that which you say you want. You want money, then you sit down and you start daydreaming about whatever you want the money for. You daydream that you just paid all your bill and you see paid, 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 paid. Daydream that you just got into your new home and your kids can have their own room for the very first time. And daydream their faces as they're smiling and feel your heart fill as you just provided for your family. You're going to have to get into a daydream of things you may have never seen before, never actually experienced before, to give your body the experience with it, get your body used to it, familiar, as Laura was saying before, get yourself familiar with it. So that's one of the major things we can do is start to just really lean in on what is it that I actually want. So step one, I'm saying focus on your language. If there's something you want confidence, then you should be focusing on pictures, imagery of confidence in your mind. What would you look like confident? What would you speak like confident, right? How would you show up confidently? See that in your mind. Let that feeling flood your body. Change your posture to reflect that. Now this is the action part, right? Laura's talking, we always talking about take that action. So get your body into the state of what confidence would look like. Feel it coursing through your veins and then start to act and speak through that place. And I'm telling you, you are going to be eye-opened and laser focused on new possibilities. You are now the hunter, if you will, in that earlier scenario I gave, right? You are now out there, but you are laser focused on possibility, probability, potential, success, confidence, and improvement, and you're going to see it. So how is really start to up that desire. How start to create new language in your mind, not, man, I wish I had money. That's lack. Man, it's so beautiful to think of providing for my family with money. That's languaging. Change that language. The imagery that goes with it, change that imagery. And if you can't do it just in your head, grab a pen, grab a notepad and start writing down some dreams. Write down, wouldn't it be cool if, wouldn't it be awesome if, start writing things out and just daydream again. So your body and brain fire some neurons that literally reflect the new possibility. Get good at imagining the new possibility. Experience the new possibility. That's the only way it can possibly become real for you to
Oh,
experience.
I love it. I love a good tangible how, right?
Yes.
Something we can like sink our teeth into. And what I
Oh,
love about this is it it's relatively simple, right? So
yes.
I'm not saying it's easy, but it
Right.
is simple, right? You don't have
Yes.
to go buy anything. You don't have to
Yes.
go anywhere. You don't have
Right.
to join anything. This is a tool that is at your disposal at every moment and every single day.
100%.
Like how incredible is that? That like you have all the things that we're all searching for is already here. We
Here.
just have to believe that we
Yep.
can access it and then tap into it. And
Yep.
a question came up when you were talking that I just feel like somebody is like, however, and I'm like, okay, so let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
So when you're moving in that space, right? Like let's say someone's in the work, okay? They've reframed it, they're looking at the pictures, they're moving in that space, but hello imposter syndrome. Hello,
Mm,
hello, I feel like a fake because I don't actually have that money yet. I don't have
mm,
that job yet. I'm not on stages yet. I don't have that house yet, but I'm acting like I am. Okay,
mm.
talk to that part of the brain because I feel like she's a little saucy.
Hello, Saucy. Let's talk. All right, let's talk. So for me, and I'm gonna hope this works for you as well. Uh, the power is in the why for this one. So now we have the how, and you're doing the how, but and the power for me is in the why. So why are you doing this? I think if we take this as just, oh, it's a strategy and it shifts your focus, it's just real surface level, then you're like, yeah, it's not working. But if we look at the actual why, what is actually transpiring? These are biochemical changes that we're encouraging. So when you say, oh, it's not working, the biochemical changes are occurring. When you create a picture in your mind, you are firing neurons. You don't have an option in that. It's kind of like you eat food and you're like, well, I'm not digesting. Yeah, you are. You might have irritable bowel. You might have reflux. You might have everything, but something's digesting because that's just how the stomach works, right? This is not like an option here, right? So I'm telling you that when you start doing this, the why you're doing this is to start creating neurological changes. You are actually reprogramming the brain. So imagine your cell phone, you just uploaded, I don't know, Candy Crush from back in the day. Guess what you're going to find every time you click on that button? Candy Crush is going to load, Candy Crush is going to load, Candy Crush is going to load. But if you uninstall Candy Crush and you install, I don't know, Solitaire, you're not going to get Candy Crush anymore. Like you're not. You might get an ad for it. Remember the little stinky
Oh,
pop-up?
oh,
Like,
they're gonna find you.
right? You used to have me, honey. Don't you want me back? No, right? So that's going to be it. But ultimately, it's you reinstalling hardware, software, whatever you want to call it, in your mind. So the reason you're imagining is not just to distract yourself so that one day no, 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 no. We are wiring new neurons to create new beliefs that will impact the chemical signatures that flow through your physical body. So this new thought no longer has you pumping adrenaline. It's got you pumping dopamine. This new thought no longer has you pumping cortisol. It has you pumping other endorphins, right? So they were changing the thought for an actual chemical, biochemical, body changing reasons and reprogramming the mind. So every time you go and sit and say, okay, I just imagined myself positive and yeah, but I can't do it. You can recognize right there, it's just more wiring. That's just more wiring to be done. It's just that you haven't fully shifted over that system yet. You haven't fully, uninstalled the one thing and reinstalled the other. So when you become an observer of the imposter syndrome, for example, instead of a beer of the imposter syndrome, you can say, I know why that popped up. That's like an ad. Like you're trying to
Hmm.
stop my installation process. Like, no, 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 no. Let's go back to reinstalling. And I like to paint a picture when I'm doing one-on-one coaching sessions. I'll like draw a circle and I'll say, okay, this is you in the app store and the thing is loading and it's like has to fill the circle and it's like going and going. And then you stop. You're like, I've been doing this 1 week. And I'm like, uh, the installation is not complete. Please continue with your positive self-talk, changing your language, getting new pictures in your brain, journaling, and elevating your emotions. Like that is how you install this program. And so they're like, I have to do it again. I'm like, you're not done till you're done. I did a talk the other day at Norfolk State University, like 2 weeks ago, and one of the students asked me, they're like, well, how long did it take you to like get to this level? Because although I consider us to always be growing, I definitely am at a level where there's clearly a program running and it's my default and it's positive. And she's like, how long did it take you? And I go, I honestly can't tell you how long it took me specifically, but think of it this way. When I was a baby learning to walk, I can't tell you how many times I fell. I just knew I wasn't done this process until my butt was walking. I
Yep.
knew I wasn't done till you saw me take some steps. That's when I was quote unquote finished. And then I wanted to speed it up because then I'm going to run. And then I had to speed it up more because now I got to do cartwheels and I got to get on a bike. Like, so it's continuously improving. And I don't have a timeline, but I know I'm not stopping until I get the result. That's when I'm done. When I'm walking is when I'm done. And so I would say the same when you're in this process and all these imposter and this and that. Oh, I see I'm not done. It's like falling down when you're learning to walk. Oh, I see I fell down. Let me get back up and continue installing this program. And you start to feel it and live it in such a way that you don't feel lack. You don't feel like you're waiting for something because you're already living it. Like biochemically in your body and your brain, you're already in it. And then the world starts to change around you because of the nature of your focus, like very
Uh,
practically and realistically.
beautiful, beautiful stories, visuals that we can like latch onto. And I want everyone to really hear and feel that pop-up analogy, because I feel like that ad, right? Those pesky ads. I'm like, look, listen, side note, especially when you go on blogs, like recipe blogs. Like, I just want the recipe. Why is everything jumping at me? Like, this video's playing and this ad's coming up. And do you want the newsletter? And here, read the story from 40 years ago. And I'm like, I just want to make the casserole.
Seriously, it's like, how many eggs do I need? Where do I
Right.
find that? Like,
Yes. How long, what does the oven temperature need to be at? Can you please just tell me that without throwing everything at me? But I think sometimes when you can separate yourself and
yes.
you start to see those things like the imposter or the other negative thought or this popped up or the old memory popped up, and you just start seeing them as something that's not you, right?
Mm-hmm.
That, I don't know, I just feel like that disconnection allows you to reconnect in a way that you actually want to be.
100%. It's that experience of pulling yourself out of the program and being an observer of the program, because then you can write the program, right? I'm going to program this supercomputer called the brain. I kind of have to step out of it a little bit to a certain degree so that I can program what I want. And when you're really in the puzzle, you can't see the whole picture, but when you step out of the puzzle, all of a sudden you see the whole picture. So I think that that's a kind of element of power that it gives you when you can say, okay, I am prepared that when I take this journey, I may feel that, I may feel that, I may experience that, but those are echoes, those are pop-ups, those are ads, and I am going to stay with this until I'm quote unquote walking, right? Until I'm in the
Yes.
new program. And I think that's so good, so powerful.
Yes. Oh, so good. Listen, I could talk to you for about 8 more days.
Yeah, everyone, go get a snack. We're gonna just
Like,
kidding.
yeah, take a stretch, get a snack, refill your water bottles. No, I've just loved, one of the things that I love most about this podcast and even speaking and just being with people is being able to connect with like-minded people. And I think this is what you were alluding to earlier with your mastermind and just the
Yeah.
women in your world. Like, when you're just in alignment and you're both resonating in your penthouse energy, like,
Mm.
it's just magic happens. And
Mhm.
that is a ripple effect, right? Like, it is an aura of its own. It is an energy that radiates of its own. And I always say, like, imagine if everybody just did even 10% more of what made them happy and joyful and full of curiosity and adventure. the
Different.
the earth would literally change. The vibration of the earth would literally change. It would not be the same world.
Literally. Tony Robbins calls them like millimeter shifts. When you make just tiny, and individually, you guys can take this as a good piece of advice too. Like when you hear all the stuff we're recommending, do tiny little millimeter shifts
Yes.
consistently, because you do a shift here. Like if you're driving and flying an airplane, you turn the wheel a millimeter, your steering wheel, you'll be like in another country by the time, time over time, it'll take you somewhere completely different. And so I think that not only works for airplanes, but works for us, and the tiny shifts you can make from everything you've learned here today. And exactly what Laura is saying, it's that shift we could make on the planet. If each of us shifted just even 10%, we would see this magnificent stratospheric outcome and effect on our planet and our people, around the entire globe, and probably throughout the universe, right? Like, so it's worth doing. And I think that I want to thank everyone, and thank you, of course, Laura, for doing this and for being here and giving us the space to co-create and to have the energies kind of blend and elevate, because this is our 10 or 20%, and everyone who's listening is hopefully going to be improved their 10% or so, and we will start to put that into this planet slowly but surely. And I do believe that we are making a difference, and you having this platform for us to talk and for everyone who tunes in, I mean, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, it is my absolute joy and honor, truly. I want to make sure everyone knows where they can find you because we need some more Dr. Simone in all of our lives. So where's the best place to connect with you, find you, learn about what you do and offer on the interwebs?
On the interwebs. Okay, I'm going to give you two super easy ones. It is theselfesteemdoctor.com. That's the website. It's all spelled out, THE, and then the self-esteem doctor, doctor spelled out, everything's spelled out, theselfesteemdoctor.com. From there, you can actually hop over to my academy where I have free resources available in my library. I have an entire free library that just gives little bits and pieces and articles and videos and stuff to just kind of help give you a little boost. So I would encourage you to join the free library just to kind of stay connected with me. And then, of course, there's Instagram and TikTok and all the names and all the things. And those are all the Self-Esteem Doctor, also all spelled out. Try to be consistent.
Perfect. I do the same. That's good branding. We will make sure that we link all of those wonderful things in the show notes. And I would love to know, what does gutsy mean to you?
Ooh, oh my gosh, I just got chills on that question. Gutsy means standing in your divine self and not being afraid to let it shine outwardly.
I just absolutely fucking love this conversation. Like, Simone and I are absolutely going to do things. She is also a speaker, and gosh, can you imagine the energy that if we get an opportunity or create an opportunity where we both get to speak at the same event? Oh my gosh, the ripple effect would be amazing. So make sure you check out Simone in the links in our bio. Again, my one-sheeter speaker bio thingy do is also in the show notes. And I'd love to hear what you took away from today's episode. So make sure that you connect with me. I'm on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. I am at that Laura Ora. And as always, until I see you next time, stay gutsy.